Hi, my name is Kate Gardner. I am a licensed massage therapist and small business owner in New York City. In the wake of everything that's been going on in the world, I think we all have a tendency to hold stress and anxiety a little bit differently. So today I want to talk about one area in particular that a lot of us tend to subconsciously hold on to tension, and that is your jaw or your TMJ. Um, so a quick little anatomy lesson for you, just because I like to give anatomy lessons. Your TMJ actually stands for Tempromandibular Joint. Um, and so what happens a lot of the times, I've had this happen where a client will come into me and say, oh, I've been experiencing some clicking or some grinding, um, or I tend to clench my jaw at night. And they say, I have TMJ. And although, yes, that is correct, you do have a TMJ, that doesn't express kind of that there's anything wrong with it or there's an imbalance in the joint. It just tells me that you have one. So your TMJ or temporomandibular joint. So temporal is this bone right here, which is your temporal bone. Mandibular stands for the mandible, which is this kind of chin strap, jaw hingy bone here. And then J, joint, which is where they connect together in this little pocket right here. So temporomandibular joint. If there is an issue or a problem of imbalance in the joint and there's maybe some muscle tension or some issues that are going on there, that would actually be called temporomandibular joint dysfunction, or TMJD. So the D is very important because it actually expresses the issue that's going on as opposed to just having a joint. So that said, when you have some things that are going on in there and you've got a lot of tension, which I think a lot of us tend to have, some of us clench or grind when we sleep, which causes some problems with our teeth and causes a bunch of other things. Some of us chew gum too frequently, and that actually causes a lot of tension. I actually tend to get a lot of clenching that I do while I'm working because I'm very focused. So I'll be working on even like on a client and, in the middle of a session, and I'll realize that this is completely locked up on me. So I like to do a little protocol that helps me to release all of that. You can do this any time of day, but I like to do it right before bed because it helps to alleviate some of the tension that I get when I sleep at night. So the way that the protocol works is basically the idea is how we eat food. So it starts out with thinking about what you want to eat. And so you take your hands like this in these nice little claws, and you start doing some nice scalp massage. So getting all around the scalp. Now, it's hard to believe, but a lot of the muscles that are involved in, eating and chewing and swallowing and using your jaw actually wrap all the way around to the back of the neck and even into the front of the neck. So I like to take my thumbs and it's hard to see it on this, but I like to get into these little pockets back here and these, areas all around the base of the skull, and just really getting into all of that, because you actually have a nice long band of fascia that connects from that all the way into the forehead, which is actually what causes that surprised look. So getting into all this, nice little scalp massage, so you're thinking about the food that you want to eat. Then once you decide, it all comes right to the front of your head, and you decide on what you eat. And so you're going to do these nice sweeps of the forehead, just moving through. You can even do a little bit of up and down or side to side friction, getting all around these nice little areas. Now, if you find a spot that is particularly tender, don't be afraid to spend a little extra time there. Take a nice few deep breaths to allow that kind of to dissipate, to allow the tension and the tenderness to dissipate. And also, if you start to feel like you're pressing on something and it refers somewhere else, so you say I'm pressing right here and I feel it coming all the way back here, or I feel it actually into the jaw on the other side, that's what's called a trigger point. And Pam does a really nice discussion in her video on the self-massage to the upper traps, explaining kind of how trigger points work and how to deactivate a trigger point when that happens. But in sum up of that, if you find a tender point or a trigger point, just taking a few seconds, a few minutes, however long you need, to just take some nice deep breaths into those spots, and allowing either the referral or the discomfort to just kind of dissipate. So I tend to get a nice little tender point on actually both sides, right above the eyebrow. So taking a little time there is always nice. So now you've thought about what you want to eat, you've decided on it, now you're going to see the food. You're going to look at it. So getting into the temples, making some nice little circles right into the temporalis muscle right here. I even sometimes like to come around and do like a nice little pinch of the eyebrows, which feels really great. Getting in there, seeing the food. Once you've seen the food, then you're going to smell the food. And so you're going to get up from the bridge of your nose and do some nice little swipes all the way around your cheekbone right here, which actually, this bone right here is called your zygomatic bone, or this is the zygomatic arch. So getting around this zygomatic arch, and I know I feel like a little crazy right now. It's your face. You can touch it. None of this should feel really painful. It should all feel really good. But that said, don't be afraid to get in there and actually work around all these nice little muscle attachments that you're feeling. So now you've smelled the food. Best part, now you're going to chew the food, eat the food, taste the food. And that's these nice big muscles in here. This is the primary muscle for chewing, which is called your masseter. And it is a big old muscle and there's a lot of tendency for tender points and trigger points in this area. So take your time. If this becomes too intense, for time's sake, I'm showing you both sides at the same time. But if you need to do one side at a time, that's fine too. Take your time there. Don't forget to get right up through here, right even in front of the ear, and just, I like to open my jaw. And you'll actually feel the joint moving back here. And with the jaw open, getting around that bone and that, where all the muscles attach right there. So, right here. And so getting into all of that, now that you've chewed the food, you're going to swallow the food. So that's these fun areas right here. And so now with this is a very kind of precarious area. There's a lot of nerves that pass through here. You've got your carotid artery that comes up through here. Pam actually talks a bit more about this in her video on upper traps as well, which if you haven't had a chance to look at that, you should. It's really great. So no digging deeply into here. Be a little aware and cautious and careful, and understand that there's a lot of kind of precarious structures that run through here. That said, there's a lot of muscles and areas through here that do really need a lot of work. So just be cautious when you're working, and if it hurts or feels off in any way, back off and, don't hurt yourself. So you're going to work this muscle in the front of the neck that is a huge muscle that needs lots of work. It's actually, so this muscle is called your SCM, or your sternocleidomastoid, which all that stands for is where it attaches. So sternum, which is this nice breastplate right here. Cleido is clavicle or collarbone, which is this right here. And mastoid is actually, you have this little bone protuberance that sticks out behind the ear that's called the mastoid process, and that's where it attaches to it there. So sternocleidomastoid, and that's this big muscle. It's really predominant on me, so you can see it. It's this big guy right here. So now the way that I like to work it is I like to find it by turning my head away, grabbing, finding where it's at, then slowly turning my head back so that I know I have it in my hand, and then using the outside of my finger, my index finger, and my thumb to pick that muscle up and gently roll through it. This muscle is actually sometimes called the headache muscle, migraine muscle, or even the hangover muscle, because there is a tendency to have a lot of trigger points in here that refer to cause headaches. So the good news is by possibly, deactivating these trigger points, you can get rid of migraines. Kind of exciting. A true migraine is actually is vascular and caused by blood flow, but sometimes people who think that they have true migraines actually just have trigger points in this muscle. So something to check in if you are a migraine person. So while I'm working on this, make sure you're only working one side at a time on this, just because it's too intense to do both. So while you're working this, I'm thinking actually of slightly pulling away and just kind of rolling through this muscle. You can get all the way down. You can get all the way up kind of behind the ear. And now once you've worked both sides pretty evenly and you've held on to any trigger points that you needed to work through, then what you're going to do is you're going to just kind of do some nice, gentle kind of swiping through of all of that, just to kind of get the blood flowing, get things moving again. And so recap, you think about what you want to eat, nice scalp massage, you decide on it, you see the food that you're eating, you smell it, you taste and chew it, and you swallow it. And so that is the protocol for TMJ dysfunction, or TMJD. If you have any questions about any of that, please feel free to comment below. And if you have any other things that you'd like to have either I or Pam discuss in some videos, please let us know. We would love to hear your feedback. And I hope you are having a wonderful day or evening or whatever time of day it is where you are. And I look forward to seeing you back here soon. Have a good one.